touch the ground.
Namaste, angels. This is going to be the weekly love reading for the period of January 28th through February 3rd. So, wow, it's almost Valentine's Day. Soon I'll be doing a special reading for Valentine's Day. In any case, I'm going to go over quickly the month of January as far as astrology. So, going all the way back to the first, we had the full moon in Cancer. That set a lot of things in motion that we're experiencing now. Then for some of us, that was the first. For others of us, that was on the second. Also on the second, Uranus, which rules the sign of Aquarius, faced direct. It had been in retrograde for some time and finally turned around. On the 11th, Mercury entered Capricorn. Then on the 16th, and the 17th for some, we had the new moon in Capricorn. On the 17th, Venus entered Aquarius. On the Hebrew calendar, and aligning with that, it was also the first day of the month of Shavat. On the 19th, the sun entered Aquarius. It too had been in Capricorn. There were like 5 or 6 celestial bodies or planets in Capricorn last week. Yesterday, because it's now 6:03 a.m. on the 27th, yesterday on the 26th, Mars, which had been in Scorpio, which it rules for about a month, moved into Sagittarius instead. For me, as a Gemini, yesterday, also on the 26th, we had a Gemini moon. So that was like my first house activity. And Mars into Sagittarius in my 7th house of relationships. So I was really like feeling myself, let's say. I really felt empowered by the energy of the universe yesterday. A fellow Gemini had posted on Facebook that it was going to be a super fragilistic espialidocious day. Not even knowing what it was. And I said, oh, yep, it's a Gemini moon today. And she's like, oh. In any case, this week, so we're beginning with that, Mars entering Sagittarius. On the 31st, we have a full blood moon. Wait, a full blue blood moon in Leo and a full lunar eclipse of said blue blood moon. Also on the 31st, Mercury, which I just mentioned, entered Capricorn. On the 11th, moves into Aquarius and joins the Sun and Venus there. Leaving behind Black Moon Lilith, still in Capricorn. She entered in December. That's why I didn't mention her here. Also on the 31st, since I mentioned Shavat on the 17th, is what is considered the feast day, the 15th of Shavat, or also known as To Be Shavat. And that is basically like Rosh Hashanah, or the New Year for trees. And it's particularly special and impactful upon this journey, at least as far as I'm concerned, because it celebrates man as a tree. And the first and original and current, ever living being associated with being a tree is King Osiris, as far as I'm concerned. It's his resting place, basically, the tree of life. So if we're talking man as tree, we're talking about him. And not surprisingly, where man as tree is described, or where man is described as a tree in the scriptures, is Deuteronomy 2:19, which is essentially 11:19, the day on which, quote unquote, coincidentally, the day on which King Osiris told me to have his birthday celebrated, which I've done every year since. So it's a special day. That is that. Speaking of special days, I've been hearing, as far as I'm concerned, from frauds, that 222 is a particularly special day. Now, yeah, in the sense that every day that we have is special, and there may be some extra love or equality or equity energy on that day because it is a 6 and it's a 222. It's a nice 6. But as I've said about like 1111s in the past, the fact that it's November 11th doesn't mean it's actually an 1111, for example, and sometimes it's not, and it equates to another number and has a different meaning. And the same is true, as far as I'm concerned, for 222, that people are making something of it that it is not. Now, along those same lines, I was made aware by the angels a few weeks ago, actually, that 211 or 21111 is in fact going to be a very high energy day, and perhaps even, mystical and magical and special in that way. It is for some, it will be for some, the new moon in, Venus, rather, in Pisces. Yeah, Venus in Pisces is going to occur for some on the 10th and for some on the 11th. So when we have Venus, which is mother, which is 6, or which is love, which is 6, moving into Pisces on the 11th, that's the high energy day. That's the quote unquote portal. Okay? Don't let people lie to you. Unless you enjoy that. Some people enjoy that. And I warn them, like, if you want to be lied to, don't watch me. Watch other people. Also, I'll give you more evidence as to why it's the 11th, not the 2nd. The 11th is also the feast day of Our Lady of Lourdes. So Mary, more mother, more 6, more love. I promise you, you can look, there is nothing exciting happening on the 2nd, except for Groundhog Day. And I don't even think that's celebrated all around the world. I think that's an American thing. It's Groundhog Day. When we look to see if we believe in myths, whether or not winter is going to continue. But there's no celestial activity, to speak of. Nothing major on the 2nd. There's no astrological, astronomical. There's no Christian. There's no Jewish. There's no nothing. There's no nothing on the 2nd. So it's a little more than a regular day. Although again, we'd be happy that you're alive. So it's special in that sense. All right. So moving on. I'm beginning today with cocktail, email, and weekend away. It says dirty movie. Buy shoes. And no. Now, last minute, I decided to pull out, or I was guided to pull out again, this Journey of Love Oracle by Alana Fairchild Rizzulli and Richard Cohn. And also, like last week, as soon as I opened the box, a card jumped out of the box and onto the table. It was this one, the breaking. So I decided that this should be our opening energy. Once again, I'll read this card. The breaking. You're breaking apart. You might not understand it at all. There is not so much to be understood, but the simplicity doesn't mean it is easy to endure. You may worry that you're going too far, that you may not recover or ever come back together again. But what can you do? Can you hold back from the divine love that calls you, that lures you to becoming all that you are, to remembering your divine nature? Well, you could try, but for what purpose? Temporary rest before the storm is best. So take the rest if you need it. Then dive into the storm. Let yourself be brokenhearted by the divine so that you can become your truth, become all that you're meant to be. It is better to have the heart broken so that it grows than to be brokenhearted by thinking that you must protect yourself from love. This oracle brings compassionate guidance that no matter what sadness or anger or despair or frustration you may feel, you're being pulled apart, not by dark forces, but by the loving embrace of the divine as it strips you of that which would keep you from your divine realization. Let go and break. It is going to be the making of you. Love. Love is a special closeness that sings from the heart, that warms my days and nights, that feels good, that makes me smile, that makes me glad to be alive. So I was just talking about 6 equaling love and being glad to be alive on that day 222, as we should always be. And so maybe that's what that was about, right? Love makes me glad to be alive. And I thought it was interesting that the card was blue and red, and that I had selected blue and red candles for the day to signify Mars and Venus. On that note, I'm going to begin with the Tony Carmine Tilano Universal Love Oracle and the energy of Goddess to get the perspective of the divine masculine. Goddess is really Goddess of the moon. And it's a card, for me at least, about surrender, as is the moon itself. Feminine energy of surrender. Again, we do have a full moon this week, so that would likely be why that card is showing up. And transience, allowing ourselves to be healed, perhaps broken first, so that we can be healed. Surrendering and allowing that. Transience and answered prayer. Transience, divine guidance with more moon. This divine guidance, this support, this love from the universe that we all have access to is infinite. It never goes away. It never expires. It never runs out. There's enough for everyone. We don't have to try to be selfish. We don't have to try to steal from one another and take other people's joy and be envious of one another and covet our belongings, covet our possessions, covet our love. There's enough for everyone who is open to it. Like this, maybe who's been broken open at every part of their being and healed. Or open to healing. Transience. And celebration. This is a very spiritual card for me because when I see this card, the celebration that I feel and expect is perhaps different than that of others. This dove is very Pentecostal for me, and the Pentecost is the celebration of not only Jesus, but other quote unquote saints, according to the scriptures, having been risen back to life. And so that's what the card is about for me too. For us being like born again, I believe that we die over and over and over again, and thankfully so that we can be, reborn and restored not unlike the transience card. Celebration. And enchantment is another card of very thorough healing, head to toe. And look, more of the blue and red, like the candle. And the first card that I read, the breaking. This woman is allowing herself, she's surrendering to the divine and allowing herself to be healed from head to toe. Celebration. I'm going to cut on that note. Speaking of blue and red also, on the feminine side in the general crowning was the King of Wands, or fire, and Knight of Swords. And I said that I was feeling particularly relationships, and maybe more so romantic than otherwise, between air and fire and perhaps Scorpio. So if you're an air sign that has an opportunity to heal or develop or grow a relationship with a fire sign this week, and you're wondering whether or not you should, I say yes. Or if you're a fire sign or a Scorpio that has an opportunity to heal, develop, or grow a relationship with, or start a relationship with an air sign, I guide you to do so as well. That's what I got from that reading. And it actually sat atop a 2 of air and a 5 of air. So what we don't want to do, at least what I don't want to do, is to 5 of air ourselves. Well, not with the 5 of air, I tend to feel is not only conflict, but it's conflict in which we had a hand, whether it was like malicious and intentional or not. You know, like we took some action, or, you know, non-action is action too. We didn't take some action, or we said something, or we didn't say something that we should have, that, you know, helped to contribute to this conflict occurring and like brought it upon ourselves. So we don't want to do that. Anyway, I've come to Heaven on Earth, which is a card that guides us to let go of, and it's more blue and red. So like more Venus and Mars. It's a card that guides us to let go of something that no longer serves us so that we can vacate the space for something that will. After all that shuffling and whatnot, again, the overall energy is the goddess. So I started with this and we end on this again. The feminine about herself this week as it relates to love and the divine masculine and or the union. The masculine about the feminine, about himself and the union as a whole. Overall, the outcome. What the masculine would have the feminine to do or contribute, offer, surrender toward the union. What he himself is willing to. And what the universe would have the two to do. Feminine, transience. So we're breaking open and allowing ourselves to be healed. That's why that card jumped out of the box. Surrender to the divine healing and the divine guidance. The masculine with regard to us this week or the union, guardian. And this is coming through as him for me right now, like feeling that as a protector, as a leader, maybe stepping into that Mars. Maybe this is an effect of the Mars in Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius is, at least as far as the planets and mythology goes, Cupid, right? Venus's son. So he is of love and aggression and passion too. Coming through like this, again, it's that sort of, and Mars is the leader, right? Mars is the emperor and Mars is Venus's equal counterpart. So this is like sort of embodying the father and the son in one card and one energy that I'm receiving here. That's how he is seeing himself with relation to us. Like I can be your everything. Father, son, protector, lover, husband, brother, you know. I guess think Shaka Khan, I'm every woman, right? It's all in me. Like he can provide you everything that you need, emotionally, spiritually, and I guess physically, again, as it relates to protection and support. About himself this week. But he's really scared. And that's scary. And these cards are the same color. So he can be there for you. I guess putting up that front, he's ready to do that. But inside, he's a little weary. But isn't that what the card just described too? The breaking? It said, like, it's better to go after the love and, you know, have whatever results it has than to, you know, fall back and just be afraid of loving it all. So that this is like a summation of that whole paragraph that we just read, an illustration of it. And not a mistake that the same colors are in both cards, because both represent him. About the union as a whole. Golden memories. This is that fire energy coming through. This can be the Leo, the moon. This can also be, again, the Mars, ruler of Aries, in Sagittarius, fellow fire sign Sagittarius. All the fire signs are very much active this week. Golden memories is similar to Heaven on Earth, the card with which I started. It's about taking the golden memories and the happy times and the lessons learned and the positives, which turns out to be everything, right? All the lessons learned are positive if we come at them and view them in the right perspective, in the healthy perspective, because we learned something. That's the benefit. Even if we had to go through some hurt, even if we had to be broken in order to get there. So we take all that stuff with us and we leave the baggage behind, the baggage that's full of resentment and regret and envy and jealousy and bitterness and all of that. And we leave that where it is. In that sense, we vacate the space for something better and we make ourselves lighter. And this is keeping with the like color palette here too of these three cards. So the only one that's different is the one the feminine chose. The feminine's collective feminine's higher self chose. The one that the masculine chose, they're all this sort of red and black and yellow cards. I'll hold them up so you guys can see that that is the case. Overall, the celebration though, because it's all for good. At the end of the day, it's all for the best, just like the breaking card described. What would the masculine have the feminine to do this week? Maybe she can make things better. Answered prayer. So like having faith and believing that things are going to work out, and allowing herself also to like receive the prayer and be transformed by it also. There may be some particular communications that she receives. Be open and receptive to those too. With this star here over her throat chakra, there could be communication coming in. If not from him, I was thinking from the universe, and allowing herself to be transformed and moved by that, but by him too. That's the answer prayer, having faith. And for him, he's still with this color palette, message from afar. So I guess that's why that fell out of my mouth, because I was thinking about the universe, and then I said from him, he may be sending communication. Could be physically actually contacting you, although he's afraid, reaching out anyway, or telepathically. So that's why he's asking again for you to be open and receptive to communication here. What would the universe have the two to do? Remember that you have access to this infinite guidance, infinite support. It will never go away. All you have to do is take on this energy of the moon and surrender your ego and anything else that would keep you from calling out and asking for the help. And then you have to be receptive to it. And that's it. And outcome. Physical body. Again with this orange and red and yellow and the black accents. This is allowing yourself to be transformed. And it's for both. It's for the masculine and the feminine. I was actually thinking about this card before I started, though. I was getting a message from the masculine with regard to this card. Or from... maybe from both. Because it was really about... it was about physical body for real. I was getting a message about body dysmorphia, maybe, specific to this week. And perhaps because, you know, it's January and you made a resolution on the 1st and now it's the end of the month and maybe you didn't keep up with the diet you pledged, or because Valentine's Day is coming up and you want to look a certain way in time for that. You know, man or woman, masculine or feminine, male or female, whatever it is. Worrying about this concern about how we look. So aside from this message that's here, that's an additional one that I got before I used the cards. I love, this is so funny though, that the masculine chose all these very fiery cards, but this is the element that he's in this week. Again, this is the Mars energy. You know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, is what they say. All right. With that, let's see what the universe has to say about this itself, beginning with friendship. But I always notice this ring here because it's like friendship that can be something more. And dating queen. Sometimes these are friends that want to be something more. These are potential suitors. Sometimes those are our quote unquote karmic relationships. It's with some friend that's a block. Speaking of karmic relationship, here she is, brunette female. I also have feelings about the moon as it relates to the quote unquote karmic energy, and maybe specifically quote unquote karmic feminine and female energy, because this is connected to the moon. That moon in Leo, that Leo could definitely represent the divine masculine. And we just saw that for ourselves from his higher self with all that red that he chose. But the moon is going to be sitting in like the claws of the crab of the constellation Cancer. And the actual moon, Earth's moon, contrary to the tarot, where in the tarot, the moon card represents the sign of Pisces, Earth's moon is the ruler of the sign of Cancer. And so I was feeling that that karmic energy, that karmic female, karmic feminine is going to be completely blacked out with the lunar eclipse. She will be blacked out this week, like literally and figuratively. So that could have been her coming through, this, you know, so-called friend that's not really showing up here at the reading. And this would be the Venus beauty queen. This is looking good, feeling good, or at least wanting to. This may be connected to physical body. And again, that desire to be looking a certain way and maybe go on a diet, do some exercise. Friendship. And here she is, ice queen. And she's here with her tiger. So this represents fire energy for me too. This could be Venus with like a Mars pet or a pet connected to her sun. Cupid. Sagittarius. Friendship. I'll cut on this note. And coming to children. Wow, not surprisingly, the overall energy is Ice King. So this, as you guys know, those of you who watch me with any kind of regularity, know very much represents the sign of Mars to me, or the planet rather Mars to me. This guy here. He's very emperor-like. Again, Mars, ruler of Aries and Sagittarius. And then here's the Leo, the lion of the full moon, right? That full moon in Leo. Divine couple. And isn't this protector too? This is what the masculine described. It's the Leo, it's the fire, it's all that red that he described. It's the Mars, and this is the protector. He's wearing this breastplate. He's like ready for war, although he's a little bit older, and he can be your father, he can be your man, he can be, you know, he can represent all those beings just as in the other spread. All right, so the divine couple, the recent past, the masculine's higher self. I'm going out of order. There tends to be usually a reason for that. I won't know what that reason is until we flip these cards over. The near future, blocks to the union. The feminine can do, the masculine can do. Further advice from the universe of what it might have the two to do, to take action, and the outcome. Divine couple, wallflower. So, this is that I hope you dance energy again, like if we're given an opportunity. I guess similar to what I was just saying about if an air sign, and then ironically, this card I've mentioned many times reminds me of Gemini, reminds me of Scorpio, reminds me of Capricorn as well. So I was saying if a Gemini, for air sign rather, has an opportunity to mend or heal or develop a relationship with a fire sign or a Scorpio, don't let the energy, the opportunity pass you by. And similarly, if a fire sign or a Scorpio has the opportunity to do so with an air sign, don't let the opportunity pass you by, right? I hope you dance. And that would apply not just to those zodiac signs, but anybody who, you know, could be taking on those traits, or maybe have these signs in their chart. And therefore they have these behaviors of a Capricorn, of a Gemini, of a Scorpio, where we're at the party, but we're not engaged, right? We don't want to be bothered. So we're just sitting in a chair, whereas the other people are dancing. And this is like, if you get the chance, I hope you dance. Like, don't miss it. That's the divine couple this week. Recent past. Short-term heartbreak. This might be connected to the quote unquote breaking in the first card with which I started. Maybe the opening up of ourselves, you know, has begun already. The near future. This karmic energy that I was feeling. This absolutely is the near future, right? We have the full moon coming up, and I think that she's going to be a part of it. As I was just saying a moment ago. This is, you know, that Cancer, Lilith, that crab, and it's crab. So it's not, it's crab. It's coming through as like very crabby too, and snap, and bitter, and trying to catch you in my claws, because I can't, you know, let go. It's that sort of energy that's coming through. Masculine's higher self. This is very karmic as well, and very Capricorn for me too. So we have this Capricorn energy crossing this Capricorn energy. This might be the fear that we saw reflected from the other spread, where the masculine told us himself, or his higher self did, that I'm feeling this, I'm feeling fear. This is that restrictive energy of I'm held back because of ego or fear. Blocks further to that, to the union. Ooh, mature woman. This can be the feminine. It can be. As the block, because again, she was closed. He's asking to be, you know, please open yourself up. Please be receptive to this, to what I'm trying to communicate. But we have her sitting here next to this short-term heartbreak. Maybe there was something a conflict. There was 5 of air, perhaps, or 5 of wands that went on between the two of them. And so now it's a block because she is closed off. And that's why he's asked her to be open. Look at this. Here's the triangle right here. Sort of forming a triangle. The feminine can do. So this is, he's asking basically the same sort of question. Now the universe is guiding us to do something similar, to be engaged as part of the relationship, and the relationship out in the open, to be open to the relationship, to be receptive to it. It's all of that. Again, what's he willing to do here? Gifts. For some, this is literal. This is planning. This is Valentine's Day. This is planning gifts. For others, this has to do with him going through ascension and like relying on his gifts, maybe to send the telepathic messages. Also, his psychic, abilities and awareness increasing, paying attention to his intuition, following his gifts and using them to maybe help him to strengthen himself and to free himself from this restrictive Capricorn energy. And what the universe would further advise. This is like not giving up. This is going the distance, is what the universe is furthering advice. So they want us to make these, to go through these things. It's crazy how we had that card, how that card jumped out of the box and became our opening message, because both spreads thus far have like sort of illustrated it. And the outcome here, Venus, love. The outcome here is love. If you're receptive to it. If you keep going, if you don't give up, if you free yourself from the restrictive energy, if you work on your relationship with the air sign or Scorpio, or perhaps fire sign. those that I described here, they're all here in this picture. And now I'll do one more, beginning with the King of Summer, who's warm-hearted, devoted, loving, and faithful. And maybe that Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or anybody taking on those traits or attributes. A trustworthy person or a relationship enters your life. You may receive wise, compassionate advice from someone who speaks directly from the heart. And opening to the 8 of Summer. You feel that there's more to life than what you're living. So it's time to move on. You may be moving from a situation that isn't good for you, or perhaps you're being drawn to what would make you happy. Either way, you're in control. You're not trapped. So you got to release yourself from that fear. Nobody can release you from it but you. King of Summer and the 2 of Summer. You're falling in love or experiencing a deepening of emotion in your current relationship. Marriages or romantic partnerships in distress also can still be saved. Don't give up. And isn't that what the universe just suggested to us in the last spread? Go the distance. Go for the long haul. King of Summer. And the Emperor, not surprisingly, again, this is just like our overall energy before, of that Mars-like guy that came through. The Emperor represents the sign of Aries. And for me, also sometimes Scorpio. Other fire signs can also be represented here. And it's that father-like or that protector-like energy. Very Mars-like energy. Structure and organization are important right now. Don't be afraid to take the leadership role. So this is guidance to let go of fear once again, as you have much wisdom to offer. The Emperor. Whoop. Some just jumped out. I was going to Beyond justice just now. Be opening to justice. This little batch jumped out. Fair decisions will be made after all the evidence is reviewed impartially. Have compassion for others and try to see all sides of a disagreement. Justice, of course, represents the sign of Libra, the scales, which is ruled by Venus. So this is her yet again. As is this. The high priestess represents for me the sign of Gemini. It can also reflect a water sign, or represent a water sign. This is a time to pause and to reflect, not to take action. Trust in your spiritual gifts, as nothing is hidden from your divine intuition. For some in the tarot, this card can also particularly represent Cancer, and maybe that's what it's saying right now here with this moon. This one is upside down, but it is Temperance. So maybe we are out of balance. By merging various points of view, you can generate an extraordinary new idea, compromise with others, and collaborate to discover a better solution. This is like black and white can come together, you know, and still make something beautiful. Also, there's another full moon here, pictured here, and another butterfly too. So we're guided to, again, allow ourselves to transform, get balanced out, healed. Balance or temperance, which is what it represents in the traditional tarot, is a very quote unquote karmic energy, as in of the universe, of healing energy. It's the universe sending healing to you and restoration of your situation. So whatever was broken, temperance comes to fix it. Also upside down was the Princess of Spring. So maybe we've been unwilling or feeling unable to leap at an opportunity. But again, we're guided to keep pushing. The Princess of Spring is energetic, outgoing, optimistic, and creative. She's also a monarch butterfly in this deck. So more transformation and allowing for the surrendering to the healing. Creative opportunities that you feel passionate about are fluttering your way. Personal growth and broaden horizons will spark fresh and original ideas. The Princess of Spring is the Page of Wands and represents, more so than anything else for me, the sign of Sagittarius, but of course can be any fire sign. Or somebody, you know, taking on these traits or attributes. Perhaps they're more youthful, like the sign of Sagittarius, again, the more youthful, the fire element, or they're actually younger, because court cards tend to represent actual people in our lives. And including ourselves, could be your own energy too. And the Nine of Winter. So here's the fear. Your worries and fears aren't real. They're fueled by focusing on the negative, which gives power to that which you're afraid of. Stop worrying. Let go of the fear and everything will be okay. So I talked about perspective for a minute. Our perspective does sort of dictate what we manifest and how. So it's the glass is half full, then you can manifest positivity into your life. If it's half empty and you're looking at, you know, what was spilled or what somebody drank and you're worried about that, then you manifest negativity. And lastly, the King of Spring. Now's your moment to step up into a leadership role. So this is that Emperor energy yet again, and divine masculine and fire sign. And again, perhaps Scorpio specifically. Now's your moment to step up into a leadership role. Don't back away from the spotlight, as your plans will be successful as long as you stay focused on the big picture, masculine. And here's more moon to, you know, sort of encourage you to do so in this moment. The Leo full moon. Leo full moon. This is your moment. And that leaves us with the Emperor opposite the 10 of Summer and this very happy couple and happy family. It's time to express your love and appreciation for family, be it relatives or a chosen family of close friends. Congratulations may be in order on a happy, fulfilling marriage as well, and as can raising happy and balanced children. With that, I will restore Mars opposite Venus and vice versa. And give one last, that wasn't very good. Maybe they don't want me to. Okay, and that note we cut. And it's that 10 of summer again, but we're also being shown the king of winter. King of winter is an Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, and maybe Venus still. You know, the gender, they're not gender specific. That king of winter could have also been representing Mercury as well, ruler of Gemini and Virgo, which again enters Aquarius this week. So our overall energy is balance or temperance. By merging various points of view, we can generate an extraordinary new idea, compromise with others, and collaborate to discover a better solution. Let's figure out how we can make this work, even though I am white and you are black. How can we come together? Even though I am young and you are older, or vice versa. Even though I am Muslim and you are Jewish. Like all those sorts of things, because I'm getting the differences coming through. Masculine, it's the high priestess. This is the time to pause and to reflect, not to take action. Trust in your spiritual gifts, as nothing is hidden from your divine intuition. And it may be more so, surprisingly for me, but it may be more so for the masculine, this body dysmorphia, because the high priestess can sometimes represent that too. And here he is crowned by it. He could be concerned with his appearance, and it might not be like necessarily be like his weight or something like that. His appearance not enough, whatever that means for the individual, right? He's like unworthy and not ready, and that's why he's afraid. That's from where the fear comes, for whatever reason. That's how he's feeling about himself. And he's surrounded by justice. Fair and just decisions will be made after all the evidence is reviewed impartially. Have compassion for others and try to see all sides of a disagreement. This is the love reading. Some can actually be divorcing. The high priestess for me is a Gemini. The Gemini is the Queen of Swords. And as is justice, again, Libra, the Queen of Swords. And we're cutting away what doesn't serve us. It can be not only cutting away what doesn't serve us, but in a legal sense. We could actually have a legal situation. Whereas as it relates to love, that is likely divorce or something. In the masculine subconscious, the 8 of spring, there's movement where maybe there wasn't before. There's also potential communication, or he's thinking about it at least, just like in the spread that he had of himself. He was thinking about this communication and maybe communicating with his mind. That can also be what this represents here. You've been presented with many wonderful opportunities all at once. While this may feel very stressful, remember to be grateful for the blessings that heaven sends you. And for the feminine, the magician, more Gemini, as far as I'm concerned. There is magic in the air. You can manifest everything you need to be successful. The magician has, like a Gemini, the mutable sign of Gemini, not unlike the other mutable signs, Virgo and Sagittarius. We can take on the traits of any sign of the zodiac. The Gemini, however, can do it like to the second power, right? The twin. So that is why they represent, or we represent, the magician for me, as well as the high priestess. So we're like mirroring each other, maybe mirror twins, mirror opposites. Surrounded by the Queen of Summer, compassionate, loving, giving, and psychic is the Queen of Summer. This is a time of deep emotion and heightened intuition that you can trust completely. Be mindful that you don't ignore your own needs while caring for others. Queen of Summer is a Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, or somebody taking on those traits or attributes. Can represent a relationship in itself that is growing stronger. Can represent our intuition, maybe about as it relates to all things, including our love lives, growing stronger. And in the feminine subconscious, the Two of Winter. In the general reading, these two cards were reversed. This one was here and this one was here. You might want to check that out. Procrastination and worrying about others, what others will think, is blocking you from making a decision. And this can have to do with the differences that are represented or were represented for me by the balance or temperance card. I see like stark differences between the couple, like one is blue and one is red. And we got to figure out how to work this together. And some of us are afraid to do so because of what others might think. So it can be the feminine waiting for an answer because the masculine's afraid of what others might think, or the feminine afraid to make a move or an answer because she's afraid of what others might think, or both. In any case, we are both guided to, use our intuition and our heart to help us to make the decision. And, this balance and this temperance, this restoral. When I picked that up, the temperance underneath it, just so you know, the Emperor is back. So that's that. There's your Mars in Sagittarius illustrated, right? Here's the Mars. Here's the Sagittarius. Temperance in the tarot does represent the sign of Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius. Crowning. The Seven of Autumn. I think this card was in this placement, pretty sure. 99.9% sure in the general reading too. The planning, resources, and efforts that you've invested in your dream will reap great rewards. In the meantime, have patience and meditate on your next steps. And strength was here. So I guess the general reading was a love reading. I wasn't sure. That's why I was like moved to use these cards again to try to see like what was going on with people and maybe particular zodiac signs and things. But it looks like I'm being shown that the general reading was a love reading. True strength is displayed through kindness, forgiveness, and compassion. You have tremendous personal power and courage. So those who are facing a legal situation, again, perhaps a divorce, you have the strength to go through that. If it involves some other sort of family court issue, which may affect relationships, you have the strength to go through that. If it's just, it's not a legal issue, it's just a matter of you guys got to make up and you're fearful and you need to move forward and you're fearful. You need to move away from someone and you're fearful, or from something, some energy that is negative, that is toxic to you, that is not serving you. You have the strength to get through whatever the situation is. And us on this side, we have the strength to make this decision or to receive the decision, whether it's in our favor or it's not. And whether it is or not, it should be fair. So if it's not in our favor, that's the way it should be, going by justice. If it is in our favor, that's the way it should be, based on justice. And we also have the strength to prioritize ourselves and make decisions that benefit us. Whereas maybe that nurturing energy, which may be stronger right now, again, because of the moon, and not only the moon, but Cancer is very probably the most emotional of all the signs, and connected with the moon and being ruled by the moon. You're talking about nurturing, you're talking about loving. You probably say, well, she's talking about Cancer. Yes, let me stop and say this right now. When I talk about the negatives about the signs, I have all these signs in my chart too. I have nothing against them. Geminis are not all wonderful people. The President of the United States is a Gemini. I'm not a fan of his at all. So sometimes we're bad. And, sometimes Cancers are good. And I have Cancer in my chart also. And I talk favorable about them. But I can't help who I was told by the King and Queen the different zodiac signs represent. I mean, that is what it is. And that Leo Cancer, and I'm a Leo rising too, so I don't hate Leos. That Cancer Leo is the Lilith energy, that cuspy sort of energy. But yes, right now I'm talking about the beauty of Cancer. It is probably among all the signs that combination of the most emotional and sensitive. So that can open you up to more hurt, right? That sensitivity, and to being broken and feeling unable to be repaired. And maybe that is why it turned into a Lilith energy, you know, and as a negative aspect, because when someone so sensitive is damaged, maybe they do have difficulty, or there is the possibility to have difficulty in recovering. And so you just become embittered and resentful. We have the strength to let go of that if that's what we're feeling. And we have the strength to, you know, soften up and be loving and be emotional and be, you know, vulnerable if that's what the situation calls for as well. At the heart of the matter here, the 3 of autumn. So there could be a party of 3 involved. This is the love reading again. To the positive, because these cards have positives and negatives too. To the positives, 3s, particularly the 3 of autumn or earth or pentacles, coins, discs, whatever you want to call them, is about earned abundance, right? Whereas 3s in general can be about abundance. The 3 of earth is about earned abundance. So whatever you're getting, you deserve it. It's sort of like the justice. And sitting here next to justice, it's like whatever's due to you from at a, you know, karmic level, like as in of the universe. Your most satisfying and profitable career or relationship, in this case, comes from following your passions. So again, following your heart and the guidance, listening to your heart and doing what brings you joy. Now, what brings other people joy, what brings you joy. Your life purpose is best fulfilled by allowing your talents and true self to shine forth out into the world. So this is about being you and prioritizing you and justice for you. And you have the strength to do all that, even if it's not like typically in your nature. You can do it this time. So this decision can very much have to do with removing a 3rd energy. And again, the strength to do that and to narrow this down to 2. On that note, the animals further say to the masculine, 4 of spring. Awesome. This is about going after what you want as it relates to peace and joy and love, commitment even. That can be what the question is. He could be asking for a commitment. Maybe he wants to get married, make it legal, make it official. It's time to kick back, relax, and celebrate all that you have. Joy arises from success in your relationships, the completion of a project, or a very happy home life. Again, the 4 of Wands can represent marriage, commitment, peace, joy, love. Feminine, release, or death, which represents the sign of Scorpio. It's time to release the past. So that bitterness that came through, again, from the Cancer and perhaps because of the moon, time to let that go. Even if it involves like a 3rd party, like even if you're bitter and jealous because of there was somebody else. And what, again, regardless of whatever side of the justice you end up on, if you're out of the threesome that becomes a twosome, if you have to walk away from it, if the masculine walks away from you, whatever it is, it's taking a chance, similar to the breaking card, on yourself, on life, on, you know, engaging. Again, I hope you dance, like being part of it, not just like giving up and building a wall around yourself. It's time to release the past and to move on to something new. This ending is the first step on the way to a happier future. So death is about transformation. We saw a lot of transformation, a lot of butterflies throughout this reading. Masculine, you're dealing with karma still. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, connected to justice, you're on the right side of the karma, you're about to get your just due. And that may be the relationship you're seeking, the peace and joy that you're seeking, the happy home. For us, friendship. So maybe a brand new foundation on which to start a relationship, right? We can build something more that maybe leads to commitment. Well, we need a solid foundation of friendship first. And we can restore relationships. Again, things are going to come out. We're going to let go of negative baggage and negative cords of attachment and negative emotions and work on moving forward, reaping what we've sown. Taking our pay that we've earned for what we've put in. Masculine healing sounds can help you maybe in removing fear. They have binaural tones specifically for removing fear. That may be those that you would like to listen to right now. And here we have more moon, more water. Yeah, now's the time. Wow. Feminine, you need to heal? Well, here's the healer of the ages here to help you with that. The universal heart. This heart that always is like perpetually restored and restoring to the rest of us if we seek it. This takes us back to the answered prayer and the calling out for the divine guidance. It is here for you to aid in your transformation. And lastly, to the masculine, dream a little. And the feminine. Look at that. Very moon. And a 20 or 2 or an 11. Sweet soul rising. I'll read the masculine's card first. 51, dream a little. The divine wants to bless you with inspiration, just as a lover would come to the door of the beloved with a spontaneous gift of flowers. So dream a little. Let your imagination wander and wonder. What if? What else could be? Breaking down the rigid walls of expectation, that's the fear. Just because something has been does not indicate that it must continue in the same way. So if you had a relationship, again, that it didn't work out before, you had something before, you can start again anew on the right foundation of like friendship, for example. Okay, that's what this is saying. Just because something has been does not indicate that it must continue the same way, right? It can transform just as we're being guided to. So dream a little and receive your spiritual gift. Then we have the spiritual gift show up for the masculine. And I said for him, I feel that it's like it's his psychic abilities, his spiritual awareness and things. That's what the gift is. That's showing up here in his card too. So full circle, once again, this oracle brings you guidance. A spiritual gift of inspiration is on its way or has just recently been received. It isn't flight of fancy. It's a gift from the divine. Receive it and believe it in new possibilities. And I'm really feeling this is related also to the differences. And that's why between the two people, that's why things didn't work. Not because they didn't connect, but because like society says that they can't work or stuff like that. And the masculine began to fear that, feel that, and fear that, and walked away for that reason. And now he's being told, no, you can have this and it can be worked out. But you, wherever that temperance card is, have to find the balance. That as a couple, you guys got to work it out and be able to merge the black and white together. But it is doable. You can do it. Feminine, sweet soul rising. You may feel lost in your own thoughts and feelings. This is the sweetness of surrender into another world. It's a time to dream, to wonder, not to be clear and sharp right at this precise moment. If you have a clear plan, let it become soft Didn't I talk about softening with this card here? Let it become soft and feel your heart and allow it to open, and open to allowing. Allowing whatever may be. Isn't that what I said too? Whether the justice is on your side or against you, depending upon where your karma has been, accepting that. Just accepting what is. So whatever may be. We might believe that it is through tough action and dynamic assertiveness that we make our way through the world. Yet sometimes the sweetness of the soul rises, and instead we can flow gently with the currents of the cosmic ocean, unsure of where we're headed, but safe in the truth that all the waters naturally return to the ocean, where they are all wanting to go eventually anyway. You can use your own efforts to swim to your destination against the current at times, or you can float on the sweet love of your own soul as it enjoys the privilege of getting to know itself as one with the divine. This oracle brings you guidance now. Surrender and flow. This is not the time to assert your will and to try to make things happen, no matter how much you may want to or believe that you should. So this is about allowing and surrender and taking justice that we've earned. Whatever we've earned, whatever we've put out there, whatever we've sown is what we're about to reap. There is something bigger happening, and everything is going to turn out perfectly according to a far larger plan that includes your well-being too, beloved. Sometimes we have to let go of our expectations about how that bigger plan will be achieved and just let it happen, trusting that it will actually take place even without us striving to make it so. This is one of those times. With innocence, I share my heart, a smile expressing with a tear, sweet words and feelings that impart everything that I hold dear. The promise of a blossom high, the air is bathed in fragrant scent. To reach the sun, you have to fly. Desire wells with loves that's meant. To wait for heaven's soft embrace, a fruit so firm and succulent, God's promised must remain so chaste, while passion's glow is slowly spent. Such patience, born with time's insight, my soul doth burn in embers light, and savors fresh and moist and ripe, the gift of love when it is right. I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's love reading. I'll be back with the moon reading and some special things for my Patreon subscribers only on patreon.com/Queenofswords99. Catch me there if you're interested. Namaste, angels.